Welcome to the GTA Advisors Podcast. We interview Greater Toronto Area business owners, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. Our goal is to bring Greater Toronto Area residents the best advice from our community's brightest minds. Now, here's your host, author, entrepreneur, and real estate innovator, Robert Caruso.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the GTA Advisors Podcast. I'm Robert Caruso. I'm here with Dwight Nelson from Bodies to Envy. Dwight, this is not your first time on this show, obviously, and we are going to have a monthly podcast together. So this is the first of the monthly series that we're going to start. This month's topic is going to be on weight loss. Now, everybody wants to lose weight, as you and I both know. So basically what we've done is between your sources of your clients, people you work with, maybe your online community, you've basically come up with a bunch of questions that people always ask on a regular basis on how they can lose weight. So basically, if you're ready, Dwight, what we can do is we can go through some of these questions. Everybody knows you. You've been, like I said, you've been here before. You've been interviewed twice now. This is now the third time you've been on the show. So people want to learn more about you and what you're doing. We definitely have the other podcasts, which I'll post in the show notes. But do you want to talk anything about what's going on with you today and how things are going in your business and how you're helping people at all? Or
yes, right now as of the 2017 this year, this year we're in, already March. I can't believe it. It's arrived so quickly. What I'm finding is a lot of advanced age people are now coming into the facility more so than ever before, being aware of the importance of getting healthier. There's also a lot of people that want to do things at home more so now. So the trainer on the run, trainer on the go, we call it a mobile trainer. That services now is very much in demand in our industry, and a lot of people are taking advantage of having trainers come to their home, not always to even do a workout with the individual, but to talk about what can we do as a couple, as a group, how can I eat better. So the wellness coach factor is coming into play, where you're going into homes and setting up people and, this should go, this should stay. And so it's becoming a lot more personalized, the industry now. It's a really good thing to see that.
Mm-hmm. So if you're ready, let's start with some of the questions that people have been asking. So weight loss, again, is the key component this month, and that's what we're talking about. So when it comes to weight loss, what's more important? Is it cardio or weight training?
When it comes to weight loss, weight training, I always put as number one. And here's the reason why. You have two systems that we fall under. One's an aerobic system, which is the cardiovascular, and one is the anaerobic, which would be the resistance training, the weight training. And they're both important systems in their respective ends. The problem with cardiovascular weight loss is generally what happens is it's water that we usually lose. A lot of people don't do that much weight training. They do a lot of cardio. 20, 30, 40 pounds of weight loss isn't uncommon for somebody who runs or does a lot of cardiovascular on elliptical trainer or anything of such. But when they're also losing that water, they're also losing muscle, because muscle is also a fuel source. So a lot of runners, if you look at the runners' bodies, especially runners who do marathons, they're always very thin, frail individuals with very low muscle density. When you lose muscle tissue, you also lose bone density, which is very important not to lose. So when we say weight loss, we don't want to lose bone density or muscle tissue, and a lot of cardio or excessive cardio can cause that. So from a healthy wellness standpoint, resistance training actually builds lean muscle, which suppresses fat cells, which also gives you an aerobic-like effect over the longer term, will definitely give you better results. And the key thing is, when we lose weight, we have scale weight and we have body fat. And people often relate weight loss to what the scale says. Now, if you're an Asian lady of Asian descent, a 23-year-old female, and an Italian, let's say, female of the same age, same height, odds are if they don't do any exercise, let's say they're just regular people, the odds are the Asian would probably be the lighter of the two because she's got a smaller bone structure and her lifestyle has been of such. So when we talk about weight loss, well, if we're of different body types and of different lifestyles being brought up, 123 and 123 may not be the same when it comes to the individual. So we have to understand that weight loss pertains to you as an individual, not what a book says and not what we've been told to believe. There's no set number. So weight training will always give us the best outcome based on our particular body types and protecting us from muscle loss and of course, bone density loss. We don't want to ever have that. That'd be the best route, in my opinion, weight training.
So should there be a combination of the two, or?
Both should be definitely utilized, most definitely. Living in the busy lifestyles that we live in, the times we live in today, generally the average person, I find, has 3 days they can free up to do exercising with. And if the goal is weight loss and you've got only 3 days to work with, I would say do 10 minutes of cardio, maybe 15 minutes of cardio. Time management is important. If that person has 2 hours to use, then we can take advantage of that. But if they only have 1 hour to use, then we have to take advantage of that 1 hour. So let's say we have 1 hour to use. Let's say do about 10 minutes of cardio and then do the other 50 with resistance training. If you have 2 hours, I'd say do 20 to 30 minutes of cardio, maybe an hour and 15 of weight training, and then go back to cardio as a cool down would be the best balance over a 3-day period. So if you can put 2 hours away 2 times a week, cardio for 20 minutes to 30 minutes prior weight training, and then maybe 10 minutes after hour and 15 of weight training would be the best combination. And you would see some very good results if you're consistent.
Now, I was the next one of the other questions is, somebody's always asking, well, you touched on this a little bit. So how many times a week should somebody work out for in the duration, which you did touch on a little bit, but obviously you got different people at different levels. And ultimately, I think, I know that the best way to sort of figure out what that is to have like a consultation with you and to work with you to at least find out exactly where, because everybody's different. Like you said, you have 2 different people from 2 different backgrounds. They're obviously going to have different goals, right? So obviously they need to come and meet with you and sort of work with you to figure out what the best is, right? So, but on average, I mean, so 2 to 3 days or 3 days is probably at least a good start, you're thinking to?
It's a great start because the one thing that happens a lot when we sign up at gyms, and we've all done this, we sign up, we're gun-ho, I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week. We get into this excited, overwhelmed, ready to rock and roll type of thing, and we put too much on our plate, and we don't allow for ourselves to adapt. And adaptation is always starting off with what is minimal and then increasing it periodically as time goes on. So when I say 3 days a week, it's a good start every other day, let's say, to get the person that wants to get active and not get discouraged by overwhelming themselves by doing too much at once, comfortable in a workout regime. Sitting down with a personal trainer or a wellness coach prior to getting active is always a good idea because you want to always have that direction. And some people are dealing with injuries and issues that may hinder their performance and their results, where a wellness coach or trainer can at least evaluate these things, give you a diagnostic on the best movements to do, exercises to do, stretches to do, to give you the best workouts when you go into the facility to train. Safety first.
Absolutely. How about eating and working out? Is it better to train with an empty stomach or a full stomach? Or obviously full doesn't make sense. We've all heard the term don't run or don't swim or on a full stomach. But I mean, what is the best balance?
Once again, we're all individuals that are different. A lot of my clientele that come in here are medicated, and they have to have food present for these reasons, especially when it comes to absorption of some of these medications. So they can't do anything on an empty stomach. That's special population, of course, but it's a scenario that you also encounter. And you don't have to be 60 years old. A lot of my clients are in their 30s, blood pressure medication, heart rate medication for regular heartbeats. All these things are factors. And sometimes, although for them maybe doing fasted cardio, which is empty stomach workouts, could be better because of their situation, they're unable to do so. Fasted cardio and cardio with food present or exercise. My belief is the best way to do this long term is to always have a little bit of food present. And here's why. We get up in the morning. If it's going to be in the morning, we've slept 8 hours. Our last meal now may have been 10 to 12 hours ago. I've already discussed how muscle can become a burnable source of fuel. You never want to ever lose muscle, people, and you never ever want to cause muscle to be a fuel source. It's the last thing you ever want to happen. So by having food present, you have enough energy to do a more vigorous workout, giving you a greater caloric expenditure. You burn more calories. These calories keep burning all day. So what happens is a lot of times people do a workout in the morning on an empty stomach, and then they're starving all day. Their eating is irregular because they've now shocked their metabolism, and you can't live that way. At some point in time, you're going to have to introduce food because as your day goes on, you're going to find low energy levels, loss of motivation, and all these things. So if you can do fasted cardio initially, that's great. But once again, this is a lifestyle, people. This is forever. We should always remember that food is, in essence, it's key to our production and everything that we do. It's like trying to drive a car that has to go to Texas. You need a full tank of gas to get there. But, the car is going to travel quicker because there's less gas in the tank, so we'll only use a half a tank. And actually, you're going to need a full tank to get there. The concept is of such.
Yeah. And another good question is multivitamins. And we've personally talked about multivitamins and how a lot of them are a waste to take. So what are good vitamins to take, or what should we be taking? I know everybody's different, but is there kind of like a sort of like a baseline that we can go by?
Sure. Well, it's interesting. I had this talk the other day. I'm going to share something with you. You probably don't know, but I'll share it with you on the podcast. I actually go to a tanning salon 3 times a week.
What?
And it's a really nice little place, and I've been tanning for many years. I do. And
well, you're a bodybuilder, right? But you have to look good on stage, right?
Yeah, you're right. But even more importantly, because even in the off season when there are no shows, I'm still tanning 3 times a week. Being of West Indian descent, vitamin D is an essence for my pigmentation. And because we don't get that much vitamin D in the colder months, I'm more sickly, I've found over the years. My energy levels are different and so on. So unless I'm getting a really high dose of vitamin D, which I've been doing this year and I feel great, my overall wellness is affected. So different people from different backgrounds are going to need more of particular minerals or vitamins for this reason. And being West Indian, a lot of my fellow West Indians, we've always talked about this. And when we say tanning, it's almost laughable. It's, something that sounds almost funny, but no, vitamin D is definitely important for my background. But generally speaking, the vitamins and minerals that we all generally need, despite ethnic background, are your B's. Your B vitamins are essential. Your C's, definitely your D's, and then E, I'd recommend. Everything else you pretty much get. Even vitamin C we get in abundance, but you can never have too much vitamin C, especially in the wintertime. As vitamin C, we all know, fights off infection and is a great viral fighter when it comes to fighting off germs. So these are the vitamins and minerals I suggest.
Is it better, though, going with that, is it better to try and get these sources from, say, natural vegetables? Like, I know that vitamin C, the best source of vitamin C is like from red peppers because they're far more vitamin C content than, say, an orange, right? Is it better to have vegetables rather than the multivitamin supplements?
Most definitely. If we could eat that way all the time, we wouldn't need to utilize the capsule pill form. Mm-hmm. And once again, going back to our talk of what's better to do with an empty stomach exercise or with food present, as another example why we need food present, because these minerals and vitamins aid us in how our abilities, to metabolize, how you feel. You want to get up feeling good. Some wake up, they're sluggish, and they're still going to go do an hour cardio. I don't know how they do that. They have nothing. So, yeah. I wish we lived in a time, Rob, where we were able to get our foods and our minerals and vitamins from our foods. Unfortunately, we are not. Although you're right, that vegetable source is definitely the best source of vitamin C. We just don't have enough of it. So, although I hate saying it, I truly believe that we all need to add capsule form or liquid form supplementation in there, because I don't think we're getting enough of it. Our foods just aren't. I eat very well, and I'm still not getting sufficient amounts of nutrients that I need. So unfortunately, we're living in a time, it's only going to get worse, where I feel, we now have to be looking at supplementation to get these essentials.
Mm. Yeah, because they're ruining the food, right? I mean, they're mass producing it. They're adding so many chemicals, and even organic. I mean, do you think organic? Obviously, it's supposed to be better, but is it really organic? That's the question I've always asked, right? Because just because it's grown in places where they have no, say maybe pesticides or anything like that, but where did the seed come from? Is it truly organic? That's my question, right? I mean, is it truly organic? But anyway, I guess that it is a better choice than going normal, right? Non-organic, I should say.
Most definitely. Unfortunately, everything that we buy, especially in the Western world, I mean, we do have fruits and vegetables that are farmed in our great country yearly, but once again, there's acid in the rain that comes down. There's chemicals that we're taking in that's coming down. I mean, look outside, all that salt that we have out there right now on the roads, that's a chemical that is a poison to us, but yet it's going into the land right now as we speak, that same land that we're going to plant our vegetables in come the spring and eat from come the fall. And all that salt, when you think about it, it has to go somewhere. So clearly our fields are covered in this, and we're getting that in our foods. These are some of the things that are happening out there. Mm-hmm. Right now, I mean, even right here, just in my walkway, there's enough salt to, melt a mini iceberg, if you would ask me. So this is part of the problem, and we're a part of our own demise because we need to have our roads safe and everything else. But yet, we have to also remember that it's also going to cause an effect when it comes to our food consumption, because everything we know goes back into the ground, no matter what.
Yep.
So even organic is questionable.
Yeah. Going back to the questions here. So, is it important to be how important is it to be on a diet while you're exercising? So obviously, we're talking about somebody who needs desperately to lose weight. Is it important to be on a special diet while they're exercising? Or?
Mm-hmm. The diets, or I like to use the term meal plans, because diets are always short term. They're hard to follow. They're unrealistic. This is supposed to be for life, because a diet is supposed to be for life. You want to always keep your numbers at a reasonable place, but at whatever you feel those numbers are. So I would say sensible eating is definitely the way to go. And that's based on your lifestyle. If you're a mother who gets up in the morning, gets to school, high stressful job, your dietary intake will be different from the single lady who doesn't have the same stresses, and so on as well. So you have to find the proper food source for your lifestyle. We often follow these diets that a bodybuilder designed for a bodybuilder, or a fitness athlete, female, who did bikini, had followed for 5 months before her contest, and these are the diets that we follow, and it's not realistic. So that same bikini athlete would go on a different eating structure after that diet, because no one can live that way. And if they can't do it, none of us can do it. I'm an athlete as well, as we all know. I compete a lot, and I have to diet, in a sense, quote unquote, 4 months prior to a show, despite my level of fitness maintaining, which I do, but I have to restrict a lot of things. But after the 4 or 5 months, I mean, let's face it, your lifestyle will change. So eating sensibly for your individual requirements is really the answer to that question. And once again, a wellness coach, nutritionist, dietitian can help you dramatically in that area.
Mm-hmm. Given that most of the listeners of this podcast are over the 40-year-old range, what should men and women over 40 focus on? Is it more weight training or more cardio? I know we talked about it before, but let's talk about age a little bit.
Men and women you're referring to, or is it specifically women you're asking?
Men or women, or is obviously there's
Okay.
a difference, but maybe you can touch on both.
Sure. So for men in their late 30s, we lose testosterone quite rapidly going into our 40s, let's say from 37. It's not uncommon to see this happen prematurely nowadays based on our dietary intake and lifestyles. The most important thing we can do as men, I'll go to men first, is dramatically increase your weight training. Keep your testosterone levels as high as possible. As the testosterone begins to drop, here's how you know. That our bellies begin to really come out. Although we haven't changed our eating very much, that stomach is beginning to grow. What's going on? It's been fine for years. Okay, what's up? So that's because there's a change hormonally happening internally, and our testosterone is dropping, and our estrogen levels are probably going up. So in order to offset that, and when that begins to happen, once again, we then start looking at bone density issues and other conditions that come of this change of hormones that are happening internally. So men, my best advice, weight training, get your cardio in there, but if you only have to make a choice for one, keep your weight training very high. What's high? 3 to 4 times a week, every week. And this will at least help to slow down, because we can't stop these changes. We can only slow these changes down. Preservation, to allow us to have a more healthier lifestyle. You'll often find cholesterol issues and all these other issues begin to happen when our hormones change that were never ever a problem before. And these are all precursor to what's happening with their hormones. Women, same thing. Women don't have much testosterone to begin with. And when they turn 40, they go through a situation often known as menopause, somewhere in that stage, which is a really big adjustment for some women to make. They could weigh 130 pounds all their life. When menopause hits, they're now 160, and they can't understand it. They haven't changed their eating. So once again, when we look at eating versus hormonal change, you don't have to change your eating for your body to go in a direction you don't want it to go, because it will do so anyways. So we have to remain diligent and make sure that we get our weight training in for men and women alike. I train many, and I advise, try it, upping your weight training, and you'll see what happens. The problem a lot of people make is they up their cardio. And we know cardio burns lean muscle and drops bone density. So you're now speeding up that process. So excessive cardio is not needed, but moderate weight training definitely is needed for both people.
Now, I sort of know the answer to this because I did have some personal one-on-one training with you. Now, stretching is something that I think a lot of people are confused about. What's the importance of stretching before you're actually doing your workout, or how much of it? I mean, what's the best for everybody?
Mm-hmm. Some people are predisposed, I should say, to having tight muscles, tight joints. They're just genetically that way. These people, and you know who these people are through evaluation. You evaluate your people when they come here, so we know who these people are. Sometimes they tell you, I've never been able to be very flexible. These people have to be stretched prior to activity. It's the best thing. It allows for better circulation. It's injury preventive. And it also allows for muscle tissue to actually get a better response when exercising for those who have this chronic condition of poor flexibility. Those who are fairly flexible, which is general population, who don't have bad flexibility at all, these individuals should stretch generally after cardio. And here's why. The problem with stretching somebody who is not warmed up is you also have a borderline of injury there, because sometimes these muscles aren't lubricated, the joints aren't lubricated, and sometimes a little bit of a tweak in motion can cause little sprains or micro tears in muscle tissue that can be uncomfortable. But when you're warmed up, now we have our heart rate up, our blood is flowing, we're flushing toxins, and our mobility in our joints is the number one thing that we want is better. And we can get better flexibility in after cardio has been done. So I would suggest doing your stretching right after you've done your cardiovascular work prior to exercise. It is not uncommon to see people stretching during their workouts. Once again, if they feel tension during it, then you should stretch. Always hold your stretch for 3 to 5 seconds. Ballistic movement, that's not stretching. It takes roughly that long for a muscle to elongate. So when you stretch, hold for 3 to 5 seconds, and you'll feel this almost elastic band effect. So despite stretching before cardio, after cardio, or during exercise, always make sure you follow the 3 to 5 second rule and keep that consistent.
Well, what
So
about
everyone's different.
and myself personally? I mean, I'm one of those people that I do have some parts of mostly my lower back that's very tight. When I'm stretching, I mean, I try to stretch to the point where there's no pain, right? Or just a little bit of because having pain in that lower back, should we stop before the pain starts, or is it okay to feel a little bit of pain, or is it going beyond it obviously will hurt us, right?
Right. So especially when we're dealing with chronic issues of such, chronic lower back, chronic shoulder, a bit of discomfort isn't uncommon, and it's totally fine. What's a bit of discomfort? What's the best analogy, Dwight, to let me know what a bit of discomfort is? A bit of discomfort is when you're able to perform the exercise, the stretch, comfortably enough where you're able to hold it for 3 to 5 seconds. If you can't hold for 3 to 5 seconds and there's a lot of discomfort, odds are you've gone beyond. So that 3 to 5 second rule allows us to adjust and adapt for a range of motion that is comfortable for us to perform a stretching. So just being aware of this is uncomfortable for me to do this, I have to hold it this long. Let me ease up a little bit. That's a bit more comfortable. I still feel tension, but I can do the stretch. And you want to be thinking along those lines.
That's great. Thank you. So you already touched on, so a little bit after your cardio, and maybe even sometimes during your workout if you're feeling a little bit of tightness or stiffness. But after the workout, is it also advisable to do some stretching as well?
Most definitely, especially if you're somebody who's, once again, dealing with a lot of flexibility issues. Some people with a bad lower back, I would advise to stretch after they've done their exercises, just to ensure that everything is elongated nicely. You may have done some back exercises that may have put some lactic acid in the area. So you want to be able to get up in the morning and not feel too much tension back there. So from an injury prevention standpoint, the chronic person should. But if you feel okay afterwards and you think you're fine and there's nothing really pressing, you should be okay to walk away without having a stretch. But if you feel, you know what, I still feel a bit of tension, or I want to make sure that my lower back in the morning isn't too bad, let me just do a few more stretches, is totally fine.
Okay.
So very customized there.
And again, I mean, consulting with you is probably the best thing anybody can do, I think, because at least you can do something that's personalized to the actual individual. So what about timing? When is the best time to work out? Morning or night or afternoon or whatever?
We always burn more calories naturally in the AM hour once we've woken up, simply because the body is fresh. Your physical being is in a different state. You haven't dealt with work. You're not under duress. Your mind is free. Your body is equally as free. As the day goes on, we're dealing with different stresses from our commitments, the demands that were placed on us, and often these things are factors. You know, you often hear, Dwight, I meant to go to the gym at 5 o'clock after work, but I was asked to stay back because we have a big project that was dropped on me today.
Yeah.
And often these are the things that affect us when it comes to consistency. So the morning is good for these reasons. If you can get up and do your exercising before your daily commitments, then at least whatever happens throughout that day, you've gotten your exercise in. So not only do you see more changes because we're fresh in the morning and you can be more active, you're able to be consistent because whatever happens in that day, you've done your workout and nothing is going to change that.
I myself love working out in the morning. It's been what I've been doing now for the last 15 years. So that's my favorite time.
Once you find too that your energy levels are elevated, you're going in ready to go versus having to be almost, you're going to work, driving in, half asleep sometimes. So once you've worked out, I'm sure you feel like you're ready to do a day. You're ready to go. You're the first person at that door.
Absolutely. And on top of that, I can outlast many people way into the nighttime hours. I mean, as you know, being in real estate, I mean, most of my work is at night, especially these offers and stuff like that. I've gone till 2-3 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and people are like half asleep and I'm still raring to go, right? So because the energy levels just stay up there because of working out early, right?
This is it, and that perfectly for me would be the best scenario. Unfortunately, I don't have that option yet. I'm jealous of you for that, but definitely, the quality of life, it definitely changes. I tell people who have never done it, try it for a week. Give yourself a week of morning workouts with your commitment to your days, and see how you feel. And you're right, this energy charge, this ever-ready battery, is always ready to go when you do it. And you're right, you'll outlast the person who sleeps till 10 o'clock in the morning. And although you're up at 6 doing your workout, they're ready to go by 9 p.m. Mm-hmm. And I think your memory is a lot better. So how do you find the memory overall? Like as far as, remembering things, and sometimes we forget small details. I think the workout, I don't know if it helps you with that.
I gotta say, I mean, not like you, but sort of. I've been working out since I was 15 years old. Okay, obviously I'm nowhere near where you are, and I still have.
You've been in it. So that's the key thing. You've been in it.
Yeah, and I don't know what it would be like to not work out. There was maybe a time when I first got married, and my whole routine changed because my whole life changed, that I wasn't working out. And there was a time when I was like, my body was just way out of shape. I was like that pear shape, and I was not strong, didn't have the energy. But that lasted for maybe 6 months, and I said, okay, no, that's enough. So I gotta get back into working out. And so I don't know, it's been so long, but yes, if you're not working out, your mind, your body, you just have no strength, and you have no mind energy. And like I said, I can just last all day long. I have no problem. So
it's a great thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, as we talked about before, I have hired you to train me because as much as I thought I knew like what I scratched the surface compared to what you know. So what you taught me was truly amazing, and I truly appreciate everything that you taught me. What should somebody look for when they're looking for a personal trainer? What qualities of the personal trainer should they be looking for?
Having a personal trainer who's got a background in the field, I'm going to say 15 years or more. Why 15 years, Dwight? You want a trainer who's had enough experience with clientele. Often I see the 45-year-old female and the trainer's 24. So right off the hop, it's not to say the 24-year-old cannot be beneficial for the 45-year-old female, but at that stage of life, although you may have been doing it for 7 years, 6 years, who knows, you're still learning about your own self as far as physical limitations and so on. So having the experience to work with the 45-year-old female, you should also have a trainer who understands the hormonal changes. That we can't be doing all these high impact burpee based movements because this person's susceptible to injury. So finding a trainer that has the ability to aid you in your goals is number one. And the best route for that is by going and speaking to trainers, sitting down with them and asking key questions to find out what's in your best interest. I've had cancer in the past. I'm medicated. Are you familiar with working with people who've had my condition? And often that's the best route to go because really it's a smorgasbord of trainers out there. Some are only good at boot camp. They're only good at working with small groups. They're not very good at personalized training. Well, you may need personalized training. So you need to have a trainer who not only has the education, the degree. The degree is a small factor because the experience outweighs that. There's just certain things you cannot learn in school. And unfortunately, in my industry, such a manual-based thing, experience overrules often when it comes to the physical adaptation and also the people relation. You need to have that comfort with your client. So people ask the key questions, make sure the person is right for you when it comes to the goals you're looking for. If you're a hockey player and you want to get better on the ice, then a land dry trainer would be a good trainer for that. If you're trying to get into a suit for your wedding, you have certain trainers who specialize in that. So it's like restaurants out there. There's so many of them, and sometimes you may only feel like sushi, and you gotta research a sushi restaurant. So it's specific for your needs. You had like you said, you had a bad back. I've got a background in rehab. I was able to work with you, give you a program that was able to strengthen your back and get you to a stage where you can go forward and continue onward. And that's what it's all about, where some other trainers may not have any experience there and may hinder that when it comes to you going forward. So meeting the mandate is very important for your best interest.
The big craze is protein shakes these days. How important is it to take these protein shakes, and when should somebody take them?
Protein shakes are something that are a supplement designed to fill the slot when our dietary intake is not the best when it comes to eating. I'm not the biggest fan of them because they are man-made. There's fillers and whatnot. We can't get around that. But I have to also admit that it does help the individual. I'm guilty of it as well, to have something quick on the run when food is not, available at the time, and we all have these things happen to us. So they are important for that reason. I highly recommend going organic. Vegetable-based protein is the way to go if you have the option. Why? Because the animal-based proteins, there's often a lot of other additives in the animal-based proteins that sometimes cause bloatiness and other side effects in people who use them, water retention and so on. So keeping it organic, vegetable-based is the way to go. So number one, keep it that way. And when making these organic shakes, the most important thing is to, add a bit of zest to it. So I say to people, put some glutamine, if there's not enough glutamine, 5 grams of glutamine in a protein shake. Glutamine is a great muscle builder, and it's also an essential for us as well. So by adding a bit of glutamine to your protein shake will dramatically affect your overall performance and the results with it. So they are important if your eating is poor, which many of us have these poor eating habits. It's a part of our society. So they now have a role in it. Preferably, people, if you could eat and avoid them, it's the best route. But we all know we have these lifestyles we lead, and they come into play. So yeah, they do have their importance.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for sharing that. So when it comes to kids, what is the best age for them to start exercising? Because many people have kids that listen to this podcast. And we want them to be healthy. But is there a good age where they should start?
Around age 5 is a great time to introduce team sports. You want to find out, your child's capacity. So maybe getting them in a swimming program or gymnastics or soccer is exercise. Clearly, they're not going to be weight training at that stage of life. So you can actually begin getting your children active as early as 5 years old. That's a great thing, especially dealing with the child obesity problem that we're currently facing in our society. This will dramatically help to affect it as time goes on, keeping it suppressed. By age 14, 15, we can begin to introduce weight training on a very passive level, introducing children to, cardiovascular machines like treadmills and understanding how to utilize that. Because now they're not at a stage where they're going into puberty and they're going to begin to store a bit more body fat. They're maturing quite quickly, and they've got the mental capacity to understand, how to utilize the equipment safely and so on, where 5 years old, clearly not going to happen. So by age 13, 14, definitely parents, get your children involved if you can in resistance training programs, and this will dramatically affect them as time goes on as well. So there's no need to wait much later than that. Some are like, oh my God, if my son or daughter begins weight training at age 13, 14, it's going to stunt her growth or his growth. We've often heard that. I don't know where it came from. No, here's what happens. We're all predetermined to be a certain height and a certain weight. It's in our genetic genes. It's like saying, Robert, don't lift weights if you're not 13 yet, because those brown eyes you have are going to turn blue.
I wish there was such a thing.
So that's the best analogy. It's not going to happen, people. Trust me when I tell you that. So just to reassure the parents out there, no, your children's growth is not going to be stunted if they begin exercise at age 13, 14, because their blue eyes are blue eyes regardless of what age they start, type of thing. But no, it's a good time. And I have many teenagers here of that age group that use the facility and are doing quite well. And the parents are quite happy they're doing it. It keeps them out of trouble. keeps the video game console put away for a while, promotes wellness, awareness, discipline, and makes you at least accountable for your own overall health. So that's important. And that's a good age to start with those things as well, these lessons that come with it.
Mm. Well, Dwight, it was a real pleasure to have you on again and to start this new monthly series. So we haven't decided what next month's podcast is going to be about, but we'll definitely get the feedback from your clientele and your network to see what people are wanting to know, because you're just a wealth of information. Like, you just have so much good information to give to people, and I appreciate you sharing this with all our listeners and your listeners as well. It's been fantastic.
Thank you. Well, I like being on the show. I'm always happy to speak with people because it's an information overload out there, and sometimes the answer is such a simple answer, we just didn't realize it because we have so much other insight and we're reading things. And my role is to educate and to let people know in the best I can, which routes to go, because we all have some interest in that. If not exercise, maybe eating better, or we know somebody that we'd like to see do better. And that's really what my role is, to pass it on to help others as well. And we have, as we all know, there's a lot of fitness shows out there. Fitness shows are happening all over the place, and more and more people are younger. I'm seeing 15-year-olds getting on stage now. So clearly, somebody out there is looking into this as far as taking interest in it, and just having the direction is really important. So I'm happy to be of help. I look forward to our next podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we will talk for sure next month.
Okay. You have a good day.